Hello, I'm Melissa Morgan, and I'm here with Palacio. With me, I have three lovely guests, and we'll be talking a bit about leadership today. First with us, we have Veronica Garcia Davalos. Then we've got Jessica Quintana, and we also have Alex Escobar, and you'll be meeting each of them today. So our first topic that we'd like to talk about is growing up. Growing up as a young girl, I'm wondering, which Latinas or Latina did you admire and why? So who was it that you looked up to or maybe even aspired to be as you grew up that was Latina?
Well, for me, Melissa, I was very fortunate to have three very strong Latina heroes in my life, which were my two grandmothers and my mom. They were pioneers. You know, they kept the culture, the religion, the family, had great humor, character. My grandmother was this 4-foot Apache Mexicana who went to Catholic church every single day. She raised 11 children in Denver, Colorado, lived through the Depression. My grandfather was a chef, and it was like a banquet at her house every single day for meals. It was like Christmas at the North Pole during Christmas time. And you know, they made everything from scratch, and she was a very strong woman. And my other grandmother on my mother's side, Castillo, was a businesswoman, which was unheard of in those days. And she had the skill of being a barber. She owned a hotel. She had a farm, and you know, made cheese and everything from scratch. And you know, those ethics and culture, you know, were handed down to us. And we have a lot of, my daughter's a hairstylist by trade. She's an artist like my grandmother. My mother's very hardworking, you know, carried the skills of our tradition of our foods and beans and homemade tortillas and things like that. So those would be my heroes.
Incredible. Wow, thank you. How about for you, Veronica or Alex? Who did you look up to?
Similar, my mother, she was a migrant worker, so she, as a child, you know, went up and down California working the fields, and so she was not able really to get much of an education, but she was very smart. She's the smartest woman I know, and fierce, and really taught me community service, because ever since I can remember, she was very active in her community, whether it was at church or you know, groups that they formed, and they helped families. So that really shaped my career path, not knowing, but you know, she was really my inspiration. And then in my 20s, I became very active and with Comisión Femenil, a group, and met a woman by the name of Gloria Moreno Wyckoff. And Gloria still, I still think about her often because she was really, you know, very small, like 4'11", but such a spitfire. She became an author, but she was the ultimate Chicana, and she was very, very active in the community and really taught us, the young women, what we needed to do to empower our own community, and that also shaped the way that I continued my community service work.
Wow, thank you. Alex?
All right, so to answer this question for me personally, I'm third generation Mexican American, and so growing up, I didn't always like put Latina at the forefront of like how I identified necessarily, but my family did own a Mexican restaurant before I was born, so I didn't get to see that. And I know that my family like worked really hard to like keep that restaurant running, and my mom and dad really are just like my biggest like Latino idols, I guess. They've like worked so hard. I'm first generation college student, even though like I'm third generation Mexican American, which I think is a very interesting combination. But my parents just like worked their butts off to like send my brother and I to college, and they're just our idols, and they have done a lot for us to just give us a good life. So
okay,
yeah,
thank you. Well, hearing about these spitfire women and these strong, educated or hardworking women, I'm wondering what kinds of misconceptions do you feel like exist today about the Latina community? What are some of those misconceptions that are out there that really get under your skin?
I think for me personally, it's that you have to fit a certain criteria or feel that I'm going to tell like a quick story really fast. When I was in 6th grade, I'll never forget, a lot of kids were just like, Alex, like, you're not Mexican, you're whitewashed. And I was like, what does that even mean? I had to like take it home to my parents and be like, everyone's calling me whitewashed. I don't know what that means. And I was like harassed for it, and like a kid like drew on my face, and like my class one time like came up behind me and like scribbled on my face. And so for me, I almost like, I think from a young age was just always in this in-between place of like, well, why am I so different than like what other people think Latinas or Latinos are supposed to be? And I think things are changing. Like people are becoming mixed, and so it's like hard to always like pinpoint what people look like, but I think that there are just a lot of misconceptions of like what your background should be, or that I should speak Spanish and I don't. And so I think I always kind of got grouped into like this whitewashed category, which always was a little bit uncomfortable, but I am Latina, I guess, but I just identify mostly as American of Mexican descent since I'm third generation.
Thank you. It's tough
to
have those experiences at a young age. Are there some misconceptions that you've heard of recently, or perhaps from your childhood, that you feel like still exist today?
I think there's a misconception that we're passive. You know, because of maybe because of our culture, you know, we're very rooted in our family, and so when, you know, we have careers, we work, but, you know, sometimes at the workplace, we might be considered as being passive because, you know, there's other groups that maybe are more vocal, or I don't know what it is, but I think that that's a huge misconception because we're not passive, obviously. A lot of accomplished women here, but I hear that a lot. I really do.
Where do you think that comes from?
I think it's a stereotype, you know, that we just work really hard and keep our mouths shut and just, you know, do as we're told, and I don't know, but I'd like to change it for sure.
What are your thoughts, Jessica?
And of course I agree with what my colleague said here, but I think some of the misconceptions that we see for women is that, you know, they're pregnant, they're having children all the time, they're not educated. Just, you know, particularly in the Latino community, you know, we're immigrants. We don't offer anything to this country. We're lazy. We're criminals. And so, I mean, that's, you know, far from the truth. I mean, we have a beautiful culture. We have a highly educated, skilled, ethnic background for generations. I mean, we have beautiful pyramids and, you know, engineers and women who are in leadership and young women like Alex today, I'm so proud of. And so, you know, I think there's a lot of stereotypes and stigmas out there.
And I know, Jessica, with your work in the community, how do you see those stereotypes affecting young Latinas?
How I see that affecting young Latinas, and sometimes there's stereotypes within our own culture, you know, where they think that this is the place of young women to have children, to be submissive, to be in the homes and not be educated, and, you know, to really fall under that machismo culture. And so how it affects them is, you know, they're not out there getting the information that they need. They're not on a road to opportunity and to higher education or career. And so they're isolated and feel very alone and don't know, you know, what opportunities exist for them. And so what we see is a lot of women that are depressed, isolated, that are, you know, using substance abuse or really falling in abusive situations with men or in other places. And then there's a lot of women that are taken advantage of, who work very hard and who are not getting the skill wages that they need to be able to take care of themselves and their families.
Thank you. With Palacio, you know, our real mission with this magazine is to engage, empower, and transform. So our hope is that through these kinds of conversations, these roundtables with women like you and other people from the Latino community, we'll be able to address some of these misconceptions and find ways to really empower folks to know that you're there and that you all can be models as well.